So, talking about the benefits of real estate, right? So, today I want to talk about leverage in particular, right? And when it comes to this, it's really no different than anything else, right? Like opinions are like buttholes. We'll keep this rated G, right? Everybody's got one. And so you've got the Dave Ramsey's of the world that are like, listen, basically all debt is bad debt. You don't want to be in any kind of debt. And then you've got Grant Cardone's of the world, which are 10x everything and, whatever. And then there's people that want to live in the extreme. Listen, you have to be a little bit true to who you are and what your risk tolerance is. Your risk tolerance is going to be based on your history, your experience with the world, so many different aspects of your life, where you're at with your life, how old you are, what your income levels are. Listen, there's 1,000,001 decisions. Things that go into that decision, right? And so you want to seek counsel, seek guidance, and kind of determine what your proper level of leverage is, where you want to kind of exist. There's risk and benefits to it all, right? But for me in particular, I love the idea of being able to leverage some of my money responsibly to try to make more money. And so we talked real kind of briefly, the general consensus, right? There's investment loans, put 20% down, and then you can get the house. So my math is not always great, so I like to use easy math. If you put 20% down on a $100,000 house, that's $20,000 that you come to the table with. Close that and you own the $100,000 asset, right? And so there are, depending on where we're at with the cycle and what kind of funding you have, I mean, there is, still ways to get into a property for less than 20% down. We in my business, our company, we tend to use a lot of private money where we're oftentimes zeroing. We have a number of programs that we deal with that actually have 100% financing. 100% of purchase price, 100% of rehab value, as long as you're within the realm of the value of the house. And so I'm throwing out a lot of these terms. If there's questions about them, put the comments in the below. I'll help answer anything. After repair values, rehab values, sometimes things just start coming out of my head and I don't know where you're at in your real estate journey. If you have questions, let me know. But there's a lot of ways that you can come in, sometimes fully leverage the property and be the BRRRR principle, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. I love that methodology. And if it's done appropriately, you can actually buy a property with your own money, with private money. You can fix it up so that you can get it ready for a tenant. You can put a tenant in there that's actually paying you cash, which now makes it a great income producing property asset that you can then refinance into some long-term financing with favorable terms and get all of your money back. Sometimes all of your money plus some, and then repeat with the cash flow. And so that's an option out there. I mean, you have to be looking for it. You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to know how to get into those. And we can get into that kind of stuff later. But you're really dealing with awesome leverage at that point where now you're not out of pocket any money, essentially, and you're actually still depositing that cash flow into Hip National Bank, as we talked about before. And I guess that just really fires me up. That's one of the huge reasons why I got into this. The idea of people talk about freedom numbers. How much cash flow do you actually need to live a different life? So I like to sacrifice like no other so that I can live like no other, and give like no other later on. Once you have assets, so if you want to go more of that Dave Ramsey route, once you have assets with equity, now this isn't Dave Ramsey. I'm doing bad if I say this. But anyways, so once you have assets with equity, let's say at one point in your life you said, I'm going to pay off all this crap, and then you've got no debt on it. And so you have some equity built up in a property, you can actually unlock that equity through things like a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. And you could do all sorts of cool stuff with that, whether that's short-term investment or other long-term investments. And people will do this when it's fully paid off, or you can do it when it's partially paid off. You can have a house that's worth $200,000, pay it off so that you still have a $100,000 mortgage on it, and you can actually still go out and borrow against that equity that's within that asset, which, again, you can use for other investments. And, you want to start talking about return on investment, figuring out your ROI and stuff, and it gets pretty crazy. Other things that you're doing with real estate is you can actually leverage time, right? And so we've been talking a lot about the rental aspect of things. In a house keeps making money, whether I'm sleeping, whether I'm off on the beach. my cash flowing asset is still putting money into my bank account every single month. And so I get to leverage that time. I get to leverage people through real estate. Whether that's the tenants are going to work to pay for their rent, to then pay for the mortgage and still be able to provide some cash flow. And, depending on what side of that spectrum you're looking at, you can be like, oh, this is, you can have a negative or a positive outlook on that. The reality is we provide great housing for people that need it, that either don't want to buy a home or can't buy a home at that time in their life. And we provide, beautiful areas for them to live. It's a win-win situation, right? And as you build out a team around your real estate, then you can actually leverage teammates and teammates' time as well. My business, I could not do it all on my own. No, there's so much that happens. There's so much that goes on. I couldn't do it without the great people that are around me. And again, looking at a win-win situation, I don't want anybody on my team that's not loving what they're doing, feeling like they're doing something good for the world and something that kind of builds them up. Great book for some of you out there, if you like to have leadership style like that, is Dream Manager, one of my favorite books that I've ever read. But being able to provide a better life for your team so that they can live their dreams and talking to them about that. So last thing I'll talk about leverage, it kind of goes along the lines other people's money. We talked about this with using banks for long-term financing or private money. And private money is basically if you know somebody that has extra money that's laying around, they want to look at investment, they don't know about the stock market, they want to invest in something real that they can see, hold, touch, and understand, like real estate. We talked about that in one of the first videos, the fact that like real estate is pretty common and pretty easily understood. We offer great returns for people that want to get their money invested into real estate, but don't necessarily have the time or the knowledge to go out and kind of do it themselves. Private money lender. I'm a private money lender for other people. It's a great spot to be in. Gets your money working in the real estate world. It's protected by an asset. You make great returns, but can do it. We can have somebody else doing a lot of that. We talked about sweat equity and sweat equity of finding deals, sweat equity of fixing up deals, and get to be able to leverage their money, and great spot for everybody to be. So that is my quick talk on leverage. Again, any questions, comments, whatever, go ahead and put them in the comments below. Happy to kind of expand on some of this stuff, but until next time, again, I am Zachary Betters, wishing you a great day and a better tomorrow. See you next time.